Very good morning, children. Today we are going to discuss an important topic in animal tissues, that is the tissue. See here, this is the board and this is the frame and these are the screws. See here, this board is fixed with these outer screw with the help of these screws. These screws connects the board with the outer surroundings. Clear, Nana? So that this is part which helps for the connection of the board with these outer line. Likewise, in our body, some of the tissues which connects one tissue with the another tissue, that is connective tissue. That is connective tissue. One tissue which connects another tissue is connective tissue. So the connective tissue, it is a mesodermal origin. The connective tissue is mesodermal origin, and the connective tissue, it gives a support to internal organs and it gives a framework to organs, gives a frameworks to the organs or body, and gives rigidity and elastic in nature, and support, and gives main support. This is the functions of the connective tissue. It is mesodermal origin and these are the functions. Now we are going to discuss about the connective tissue main functions. Here one more point. In the connective tissue, it contains so many cells and fibers with large extracellular matrix. See, in epithelial tissue, that's the extracellular matrix is absent, whereas in connective tissue, it contains cells with fibers with large extracellular matrix and ground substance. So the ground substance that contains some chemical substances, those are water and glycoproteins and mucopolysaccharides. So the ground substance that contains water, glycoproteins and mucopolysaccharides. This is the function of the connective tissue. So in this connective tissue, the types of the connective tissue, this connective tissue, which is consisting of connective tissue proper, and special connective tissue, and the third one is fluid connective tissue, fluid connective tissue. These are the main components. The connective tissue, which is consisting of connective tissue proper and special connective tissue, fluid connective tissue proper, special connective tissue, and fluid connective tissue. The connective tissue proper, it is divided into two parts. First one is areolar connective tissue. Areolar connective tissue, it is the first one, areolar connective tissue. And the second one is adipose tissue. And the third one is reticular tissue. These are the three types of the connective tissue proper: adipose tissue, areolar connective tissue, adipose tissue, and reticular tissue. Whereas the special tissue, it is divided into, first one is cartilage, and the second one is bone. Cartilage and bone. These are the two types. Whereas fluid connective tissue, these are, first one is blood, and the second one is lymph. Blood and lymph. This is the mind map of the connective tissue. The mind map of the connective tissue, which is consisting of connective tissue proper and special tissue and fluid connective tissue. The connective tissue proper, which is consisting of areolar connective tissue, adipose tissue, and reticular tissue. Now the special tissue are cartilage and bone, and fluid connective tissue, which is consisting of blood and lymph. These two are the fluid connective tissue. Now see. Now we are going to discuss about the connective tissue proper. Connective tissue proper. This connective tissue proper is divided into three types. First one is areolar connective tissue. Areolar connective tissue. In this areolar connective tissue, first one is areolar connective tissue. In this areolar connective tissue, so the tissue which is helps for package of the substances and connects one tissue with the another tissue and helps to circulation of the materials from one place to another place and gives a framework to the body. That tissue is called as areolar connective tissue. In this areolar connective tissue, it has several cells and fibers. These are present in areolar connective tissue. Several cells and fibers are present in areolar connective tissue. The cells of the areolar connective tissue, those cells are fibroblasts, and the second one is mast cells, and the next one is adipocytes, and the next one is macrophages, And last one is plasma cells. Plasma cells. See, these are the different types of the cells in areolar connective tissue. These areolar connective tissue that contains several cells and fibers. The cells of the areolar connective tissue are fibroblasts, mast cells, adipocytes, macrophages, and plasma cells. And the fibers of the areolar connective tissue are collagen fibers, and the second one is elastin fibers, and the third one is reticular fibers. Reticular fibers. Now we are going to discuss about the cells of the areolar connective tissue. See, in that the fibroblasts which secrete fibers, either collagen fibers or the elastic fibers or the reticular fibers. These fibers are secreted from the fibroblasts. Fibers secreting cells are called as fibroblasts in areolar connective tissue. In these fibroblasts, inactive fibrous secreting cells. Inactive fibrous secreting cells, these cells are called as fibrocytes. Inactive fibers secreting cells are called as fibrocytes. Now, the mast cells of the areolar connective tissue. In that, the mast cells of the areolar connective tissue that contains different types of the cells. First one here, this is heparin. And the second one is histamine, bradykinin, and the third one is serotonin. Histamine, heparin, histamine, bradykinin, and serotonin. These are the cells are present in mast cells. Heparin, it acts as a anticoagulant. Heparin, it acts as a anticoagulant of the body. Anticoagulant means that prevents the clotting of the blood when the blood flows in the blood vessels. See, we are the examples for the closed type of circulatory system. In this closed type of circulation, the blood flows in the blood vessels. When the blood flows in the blood vessels, it never coagulates due to the presence of the anticoagulant heparin. So this heparin prevents the clotting of the blood when the blood flows in the blood vessels. Right, Nana? And histamine and bradykinin, these two. Histamine and bradykinin, these two are increases the volume of the blood vessels, which allows more amount of the blood through in it. So the people who are suffers with the high BP conditions, in those high BP conditions here, the heart doesn't receive the blood sufficiently. So in that people, they are taking some medicines. Those are prepared by these histamine and bradykinin. So the histamine and bradykinin, these two are acts as a vasodilators. These two are acts as a vasodilators that increases the volume of the blood vessels. And another one is serotonin. This serotonin, it acts as a vasoconstrictors of the body. See, the histamine and bradykinin, these two are acts as vasodilators, whereas the serotonin, it acts as a vasoconstrictors of the body. So the vasoconstrictors means that it decreases the volume of the blood vessels, that prevents excess receiving of the blood by the heart. Those are called serotonin. These are the mast cells. Heparin anticoagulant, histamine and bradykinin vasodilators, and serotonin vasoconstrictors. These are the cells. Now see these adipocytes. The adipocytes of the areolar connective tissue cells, these are helps for fat storage. This is for the fat storage. So the adipocytes, this is for fat storage cells. Fat storage. This is for the main purpose is for the fat storage. Now macrophages. These macrophages, it is derived from. These macrophages are derived from monocytes of our white blood cells. So the monocytes, compared to all white blood cells, the monocytes are largest in size, whereas the nucleus of the monocytes it is kidney shaped. So the macrophages are derived from the monocytes in our body. These macrophages are acts as internal scavengers. Internal scavengers in our body, that acts as a phagocytic in nature. Phagocytes, those are acts as a phagocytes, means it engulfs the bacteria and viruses. These macrophages, actually those are two types. One is histiocytes, and another one is wandering macrophages. Wandering macrophages. So histiocytes, what are the difference between histiocytes? In these macrophages, what are the macrophages which is tissue fixed, which is fixed in the tissue? The tissue fixed macrophages, those are called as histiocytes. Whereas the remaining macrophages are called as wandering macrophages. Those are the macrophages of areolar connective tissue. Now the plasma cells. Plasma cells. These plasma cells secrete B lymphocytes. B lymphocytes. Lymphocytes, those are granulocytes of the white blood cells. In those granulocytes, those are acidophils, basophils and neutrophils. Granulocytes of the white blood cells are lymphocytes and monocytes. Compared to all white blood cells, the lymphocytes are smallest in size. The nucleus is circular or the round shape. In these lymphocytes, it is segregated into two types. One is B lymphocytes and the second one is T lymphocytes. Whatever it may be, those are involved for the immunity. See, from the B lymphocytes, antibodies are produced. Antibodies are produced from the B lymphocytes. B lymphocytes. These are the cells of the areolar connective tissue. Cells of areolar connective tissue. Now we are going to discuss about the Fibers of the areolar connective tissue. What type of fibers we will see in the areolar connective tissue? The fibers of areolar connective tissue. Fibers of the areolar connective tissue. The fibers of the areolar connective tissue, those are, first one is collagen fibers, second one is elastic fibers. Collagen fibers and elastic fibers, these two are the fibers which is secreted in the areolar connective tissue. The collagen fibers, it contains a protein is called as collagen. The collagen fibers are white in color. White in color. Sometimes the color of the collagen fibers are bluish white color. Bluish white color. These are collagen fibers. The collagen fibers are bluish white color due to the presence of the protein is called as collagen. These are fibers. And another one is elastic fibers. The elastic fibers are yellowish color due to the presence of the protein is called as elastin. Due to the presence of a protein is called as elastin. The collagen fibers gives a strong and stretch resistance. Strong and stretch resistance, whereas the elastic fibers, this is support. It gives support to the body. The collagen fibers, it is present like a bundles. It gives strong and stretch resistance, whereas the elastic fibers, this is for support of the body. This is about the different types of the protein fibers. And last one is reticular fibers. Reticular fibers. These are different types of fibers in the areolar connective tissue. Now we are going to discuss about the adipose tissue.